everyone, and Happy New Year from Tonic here in Washington, D.C. Welcome back to Raise High at GW. I'm Kevin Burke, as always, joined by head men's basketball coach Jamie and Christian. Coming up on today's show, we'll go inside the film room. We'll also get to talk a little bit of scheduling, which I'm sure is always a hot topic, with assistant coach Graham Bowsley. Coach, how you doing? How was your holiday?
I'm feeling great. It was an amazing holiday. Great to be with our family and great to spend some time.
Let's talk about that. Now we're a handful of games into the season. How would you evaluate the first 6 weeks or so as we start conference play now?
You know, it's all about growth. And, in the market we're in right now, it's all about getting these guys enough experience and allowing these guys to have enough failure and build in a recovery system where they continue to improve. And I think that's where it's all about. And, the market that we're in right now and the world the way it is, it's just a team that can continue to learn the best. And the team that learns the best at this point will have the opportunity to host that trophy up at the end of the year. And that's what we're all fighting for.
You would figure with so many fresh faces in your program and a Power 5 transfer like James Bishop and another like Matt Moyer, it might have taken some time for the guys to coalesce and gel a little bit. Was that fair to say? Yeah,
I think we all thought it would take some time. And, the one thing is we feel great about the level of talent that we have. And we feel great about the level of connectivity that we're building. And, it's not built overnight. And, guys, they need time to gel and they work together. And we're still working on that process. I think if we continue to embrace the challenge of it and we recognize that we need one another, man, it's going to be a lot of fun through the course of the year.
Let's talk about your two Power 5 transfers, though. James Bishop has been at the top of the conference in terms of scoring and assists. The A-10, as I'm sure you know, has had a great history of guards. Where does he fit into that story, and where have you seen his expectations so far?
Well, he's got the opportunity to be as good of a guard that's been through here and as good a guard that's been in the A-10. And, he's doing that with his numbers right now, and I think he's learning how to lead a program and how to lead that program to winning. And it's exciting to be a part of that process with him. And, a guy who has a tremendous reputation for scoring and one of the most wins in Baltimore history coming out of high school, he's got to prove that he can do that on the college level. And, again, that's the fun part about it, taking a guy who's so talented but has a great drive and has a great ability to learn and just spending time with them every day and helping them become the best they can become.
And remembering he's only a sophomore.
Yeah, he's only a sophomore in our system for the first time. And our system typically takes a while for the point guards to develop in. And, to have the numbers that he's having in the first few weeks of the season is really special.
How about Matt Moyer? Here's a guy who started at Syracuse, went to Vanderbilt, is now here. How do you see him fitting into your system and seeing him continuously grow?
Man, we love Matt. He's a guy that's so talented and can do so many different things. Right now we're challenging him to guard the best player on every single night. He's doing an amazing job of that. He's leading our team in rebounding and field goal percentage and getting a few assists and getting a chance to showcase to the world all the things he can do. You're just looking at a guy who's at 6'9" with a 7'4" reach. He's just so incredibly versatile. And so just trying to fit that in with all the pieces that we have, the way that he can create shots for Jamison Battle and James Bishop and Chase Pard, just giving him the ability to be able to do that. And he hasn't had a chance to do that in college, as he's been mostly a back-to-the-basket guy. But we're playing him with the ball in his hands and giving him an opportunity, and he's doing an amazing job.
We've even seen him at point forward. We don't want to call him point guard at 6'9", but was that expected to be part of the versatility?
Yeah, absolutely. We spent about a month in preseason camp playing him at the point guard spot, and I just wanted to get him confident coming off the ball screen and handling the ball. And I feel like that's something that's really going to benefit us, down the road. It's going to really benefit him as a professional player someday. It's just being able to have that kind of experience. And he's a natural passer and can really see the floor and has a great IQ. So we want to continue to develop him in those areas. And I think you should look for him handling the ball a lot more through the course of the year with his ability to make plays for others.
Have you had a point forward in your experience before?
Not at the level like Matt. We had a kid, Chris Ray, at Mount St. Mary's, who averaged, I think it was about 5 assists a game at the Mount at the center spot. And who was a guy who was a point guard in high school and then became a center in college. And so he was a tremendous handler of the basketball and could really move the ball. And so we're using some of the things we use with Chris. But, Matt's such a unique player. His ability to score at all 3 levels and his unselfishness in all those phases. We're just trying to continue to grow his confidence in those areas and let him go and be himself.
We're seeing that more and more in basketball where it's positionless, like a 6'9" guy's playing point guard and things like that. And you're trying to sort of create these mismatches. Is it fair to say that you're intentionally trying to do that when you put somebody like Matt at point guard?
Yeah, absolutely. And just, James Bishop is a great catch and shoot player, right? And so, finding moments where we can get him off the ball and where someone else can handle, Jamison Battle is one of the best off-ball guys catching and shooting the ball. So we want to try to find ways where those guys can cut and move, and then we have Matt kind of facilitating the offense. You're going to see a lot more of that as the year goes on because we have so much trust in Matt's ability to get to the front of the rim and to make the right decision. It just gives our offense a level of versatility that you don't see in the A-10 very much, and you don't see around the country very much.
I know he's only in your first year here in this program, but in terms of college experience, how much trust do you have in a guy that's been around the block 3 or 4 years?
One of the main reasons we wanted him here was because he was a captain at Vanderbilt. We recognize that we have a really talented group of sophomores that we all love, and it's going to be so much fun for everyone watching these guys grow up and become the players that we know they will. But we definitely felt like we needed a veteran in the locker room. We needed a guy in the locker room to talk to them about some of the tough times they'd been through and to be able to check these guys when they were maybe getting a little bit off kilter. And Matt's done a great job of that. And, his leadership is something that our team has needed, and he's really stepped in and been fearless in his efforts to lead our team.
We've talked previously about the importance of recruiting the DMV, but how much of that comes into effect in terms of recruiting skill sets or a certain size that come into play?
Yeah, as of right now, we love the DMV. We're going to continue to recruit really hard. But, to find guys like Matt Moyer and guys like that, sometimes you can't find those guys in the DMV. And so we're going to continue to kind of look outside for things that we may not be able to get right here. But we're always going to take a preference on guys here in the DMV. Just the high school system here, the AU system here, is just so good and it's just so rich. And so we want to always keep a great footprint there. But we always want to make sure, GW has a large handprint on the country and around the world. So we want to make sure that we're opening doors for those as well, and guys that can come in and make an impact in our program. You're seeing guys like Matt Moyer, you'll see Hunter Dean as well. Those are kind of guys that you can't get right here in the DMV, and they're doing a great job for us.
I know you're not allowed to go out on the road recruiting. It's been a completely different year in that regard. But when you're in someone's living room, when you're allowed to do that, or you're recruiting someone, how important are those intangibles that you're looking for? What are you looking for when you're having these conversations?
There's everything. You want a guy who's going to sit in front of you and be honest. And one of the things that happens when you get to college, it's the first time a lot of these guys meet failure. And when failure smacks you in the face, how are you going to respond? And so you want to make sure you have a person in front of you that has a tremendous amount of humility. Humility allows you to laugh at yourself when you make a mistake and then have the ability to bounce back from it. You want a guy that has great level of empathy, right? We're going to step into this locker room and everyone's been talented, everyone's done great things in their career, but can you be empathetic for someone that's going through something that's bigger than themselves and help grow them as a teammate? I think those are two of the qualities we look for. And again, honesty, I think, is huge. And just having someone that's going to be honest with themselves and honest with our program. So we're looking for a lot. We're probably we grade more intangibles than we do basketball ability, because I think the intangibles are really the separators that allow a guy to become the best that they can be. The majority of the time, a guy entering your program as a freshman isn't good enough yet to help you win a championship. So the intangibles come into play then, because that allows them to grow. And that growth is where your best players come.
Do you have a favorite recruiting story that you can share?
Yeah, there's a ton of them. I remember the first time I saw Amir Harris play. And I was sitting on my couch with Matt Miller, who's now assistant coach at Mount St. Mary's. He was my roommate at the time, and Matt was the head coach at St. Mary Goretti in Hagerstown, Maryland. And he sits down and he goes, "What do you think about this kid?" And he shows me the film of Amir Harris playing at one of the Hagerstown high schools right there. And I was like, man, Amir at the time might have been a freshman or sophomore in high school. And I remember saying, man, this kid's really talented, And then I was like, well, what's his name? And I took his name right from there and went and put it into Google. And then I was like, all right, we're going to recruit this guy, So I'm sitting right there on the couch. The same story can be told about Ricky Lindo, as he was kind of looking at different high schools around the area and settled at Wilson right here in D.C. So there's a ton of great recruiting stories out there of just, finding a guy. I remember watching Junior Robinson, who played for us at Mount St. Mary's. And, my assistant sends me to a game to watch. And the guy we go watch is a really top point guard in the state of North Carolina. And, he's got more armbands and leg bands on than any person I've seen in the gym ever, and which makes me think he cared about his public perception more than he did his game. And I remember watching Junior at 5'5", just torching this guy, and just like everyone in the stands were standing up, clapping for him by the end of the game. And I remember, man, that kid's really special, and I loved his enthusiasm to play the game. And so needless to say, we stopped recruiting the one kid with all the armbands. We ended up going and playing a pretty high level basketball, and we decided Junior was the guy for us. And almost 2,000 points later and a couple championships, we're sitting here.
It's crazy to see just how one little thing can change a whole perception on a specific player.
Yeah. Well, you got a small amount of time to make an observation, and again, maybe you needed all those armbands, when you have armbands on your calves, I'm confused on that. Like, you can get a leg brace for that. So when I start seeing that stuff, I'm always a little more critical. But, you just want a guy who's no nonsense and wants to come in and elevate your program, and, that's going to leave their ego at the door. And so, always looking for little signs like that. And again, that kid had a great college career, I'm sure. But I don't think it was as good as Junior Robinson, who was really hungry for the opportunity.
Absolutely. Well, we know recruiting is so important. Also, an important aspect of coaching is film breakdown. And when we come back, we're going to go inside the film room with Coach Christian. Stay tuned. Much more to come on Raise High at GW.
When you get the diagnosis of cancer, you don't know how you're going to handle it. You really don't know what's coming down the road for you. I was diagnosed with stage 4 oral cancer. The doctors at GW Hospital were fantastic. They were willing to advocate for an alternative treatment that had better outcomes for me, better life over a longer term with fewer side effects. I want to say thank you for getting me through cancer treatment and back to living my life.
From routine care to life-saving emergencies, we're here for you, the George Washington University Hospital.
Fans, support GW's 500 student athletes with a gift to GW Athletics. Your gift will support GW student athletes to succeed in competition, in the classroom, and in the community. Give today at go.gwu.edu/give to athletics. Thank you for your generosity to GW Athletics.
With the great technology at GW Hospital and the great doctors, I am now cancer-free. I was able to see where my mass was with the help of virtual reality technology. The doctor came in saying he removed it all. I feel wonderful. GW Hospital is the best. They truly take care of you.
From routine care to life-saving emergencies, we're here for you, the George Washington University Hospital.
Do you miss GW basketball game days? Look no further than the Sweet Life. The Sweet Life is delivered directly to you and includes GW Adidas gear, GW branded game day essentials, your own fan cutout in the Smith Center, access to exclusive GW content, and so much more. Visit gwsports.com/sweetlife today and pick the package that's right for you.
Welcome back to Race High at GW. I'm Kevin Burke. Coaches are most often in their element inside the film room. Now let's go inside the film room with Coach Christian and Jeremy Schrank.
All right, Kevin, I'm here with Jamie inside his office here in the town home. We're going to break down a couple of plays here this afternoon. Coach, I know you guys are working on a lot of different things offensively, working in transition, but let's break down. I know you got 2 plays for us today. Let's go ahead and break the first one down.
Yeah, you know, we're a change and react offense, so we're going to constantly be changing depending on our opponent. One of the staples of what we're trying to do here, we always call this jet. And, you know, we always have these like colorful names just to make sure our guys can remember it and that we have some nice hand signals with it. But in jet, it's really simple. We're going to start with our 5-man right here and our 1 with the ball. Our 2 will be here, and our 4 will be on this side right here with the 3 right here. And it starts with a down screen. Again, every time you move the ball side to side, you give yourself a better chance to score the basketball. So we want to have great tempo with this. We want to give guys different opportunities. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to run our 5-man down here. And so to understand what our 5s are guys that usually can shoot a little bit from the trail, great screeners, great post-up guys. Our 1s are great decision makers, guys that can make plays. 4s are usually shooters for us. 2s are attackers for us, guys that get to the front of the rim. And our 3s are guys that shoot the ball really well. The 3s and the 4s annually take 200 threes a year. So we want to make sure we're keeping those guys kind of shot opportunities. So this is a great first one. You take a good 3-man, he's going to come off this down screen nice and tight right there. And this pass right here is a shot opportunity for him. We want him to take a look at it, see if he can get a score there. If he doesn't, we're going to then bring this guy off right here. We're going to bring our 2-man off. Remember, our 2-man's an attacker. So it's important for him to be able to score the ball. We're going to run him off this baseline stagger from 4 and 5. And we're going to spread him along this baseline right here. Now he doesn't leave until this ball is passed, and it's a really sharp action. So once that ball goes there, and again, we want to move this ball side to side as much as possible. So we got our 5 here, we got our 4 here, we got our 3 with the ball right here, we've got our 1 right here, we've got our 2s just come on this baseline staggered. As this pass is made here to our 2-man, our 3 is going to cut opposite, get away. Our 5 is going to cut opposite, and our 4 is going to come over the top here. Right, so our 4 is going to come into a ball screen right here for our 2. We're going to bring our 2-man off here, give our 4 who's a shooter, and this is an action where you've got to make a decision here. We've got our 2-man who's an attacker, we've got our 4-man who's a shooter. Usually the 4s are a little bit bigger, so we want to get some movement there quickly, make them have to make a clean decision. Once we get that action there, again, we want to try to push and score off of that. So again, we stretched it with our 3-man on this side. We've got our 1 right here. We've got our 4 who's rolled to the corner. We've got our 2 who's now been in attack mode right here. We've got our 5 low. When we reverse this ball here to 1, we're going to do what we call a step-up screen right into there. So again, we're giving this guy an opportunity to score, maybe drop off to 5, give him all that space to play with from a wing to the middle of the floor. If he doesn't have it, the next option is throw the ball here to 5. And if 1 comes off of here, we're going to do what we call a wide replace. And so the 2 fades heavy to the corner here, and then we're running our 4-man right to the top of the key as this 5-man rolls out. Typically, they want to help from X4, so that gives us great decision making here to throw this ball right here to our 5-man at the rim, or the ball back here to our 4-man on the wide replace. Again, that's a jet for us. That's a staple of our offense. One of the better things we get a chance to do, and it really incorporates so many different parts of our team, our team strengths, and allows us to really have a chance to score the ball pretty quickly.
I hope everybody stayed with that. There's a lot going on here, but I think the most interesting thing for fans and even myself is how many options there are on one play. This is just one play, and yet you've got, I don't know, I counted like 6, 7, 8 different shot opportunities, and maybe half of those are 3-point shot opportunities, and with, like you said, some of the best shooters on the team.
Yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to just give so many different guys options and let them settle into it. And I think when you're able to do that, if you go, again, it's one play with the 6 or 7 different options on it, you allow the players to develop into the type of person that you need to be here, and they can really read it and understand it. It just goes so much deeper. The best plays are plays that are made instinctually, and when you can put players in the right position and play with their instincts, you have a chance to have a really dynamic offense.
All right, let's erase this one. We got one more for you really quick. You said this one's called I.
We call it I. Again, we've got a lot of interesting names because we want to flow it.
Yeah, what's the hand motion for this one?
The I is just right
just
here.
I, okay.
So, when you watch us in the games, if you ever watch me, I could be doing a lot of different things that signal plays in. What we're preparing for is when we're in the NCAA tournament playing in really loud arenas, playing in the A-10 tournament playing in really loud arenas. So the hand motions become really important. And so it becomes challenging with the play call through the course of the year because you got to have a name, a verbal, and you've got to be able to have a hand signal that works with it. But I is really simple. And what we're going to do here, again, 1 starts with the ball right in the middle of the floor. We love middle pick and roll. I think it's one of the tougher things to guard. We're going to put a guy here, usually our 2. And for this play, we'll put our 4-man nice and wide over here just to space. So you can remember our 4s are shooters and our 3s are shooters. So we want to be able to keep a lot of pressure on them. We'll put our 3-man just below them. We'll put our 5-man high here. And what we're looking for, we're trying to give our 1 a ton of space. Our 1s typically are guys that can score the ball, can get to the front of the rim, and can really facilitate. Our 2s are usually attackers. They can run to the lob to the front of the rim right here. 4 and 3s are, again, our shooters. And our 5s are screeners and guys that can score for us and make some plays. So no matter when you get great pressure, we try to bring this 5-man all the way up. And again, we want these guys lined up like this. We call this I for I formation, right? And so really simple. He's going to come. Now, what's great about this, it doesn't matter which way this guy goes here. He can go right or he can go left. Whichever way he goes, this big is going to roll opposite, and then our 3-man is going to step right out behind it. And so typically the way defenses are working, the 3-man is going to try to help on this roll, which puts pressure here on the 5, right, as they make a decision. So if the 3-man helps on our 5 on the roll, 3-man's open right behind it really quickly. Again, our 1's a guy that can score. If they try to switch it, he might be able to turn the corner, be able to get to the front of the rim. And then lastly, we have this action where this guy fills up from the corner. If his guy was helping, we can come off here and throw the ball right there. So again, we've got a ton of great options to the roller, to the guy in the shake, what we call, or to the replace guy. And again, it's staple of our offense. This is called a roll replace. And we run a ton of roll replaces. And again, that's a staple of our offense. They're trying to always replace guys behind the ball, giving them opportunity to shoot the ball.
All right, that's the last one. That's the I for you. So GW fans, if you're watching this season, keep an eye on Coach Christian. I don't know what the jet symbol is. Are you flying an airplane? Is jet? I don't know what that is. Or an I symbol. But that's the 2 plays for us now. Kevin, back over to you.
Great stuff there. Thanks, Jeremy. And Jamie, I want to ask you, do you ever get caught watching or rewatching great plays over and over again because you're just a fan of the game of basketball?
That's one of the things as a coach that you kind of lose your ability to just enjoy the game. There's so many times where I'm sitting on the couch with my wife and someone runs a great action on TV and I have to record it, have to rewind it, I have to draw it up. And, when you're a coach, you're constantly looking at what others are doing. And, it's a process. When you're a coach's family, you get kind of used to that process of watching basketball like it's game film.
Well, let's go into rapid fire film edition for your insights into film. Better to watch, wide open 3 or dunk off the pick and roll?
Dunk off the pick and roll.
Steal off the press or taking a charge?
Steal in the press.
Who's the most animated watching film?
Usually the assistant coach who has a scout.
Is it good animation or bad animation?
It depends on how that game is going, but you can usually tell. You can learn a lot by who has a scout and their interactions and how that team performs.
Not naming names, have you ever caught anybody sleeping during film?
No, because generally as you start to nod, you make them stand up.
Oh, okay. Have you yourself fallen asleep while watching film?
Never. I've watched film one time for almost 22 straight hours.
Really?
Yeah. So like I love watching film. I enjoy that. That's one of the most fun things I can do. So, yeah, I don't fall asleep watching film.
We'll have to do another segment analyzing the 22-hour film session with Coach Christian. Anybody with like LeBron-like recall when watching a playback exactly how it went?
Yeah, Jalen Pickett, the guard we had at Siena, had an amazing recall on plays. And when you coach some of the best guys, you recognize that they can really run plays back in their mind that way. And that's something you're always looking for in recruiting.
He is amazing with that from what we've heard. Last thing with film, do you have a favorite moment you like to pick out in a game, or is there anything you're looking for in a game?
Yeah, one of my first year at the Mount, I'm like watching film of a game that we played, and they filmed the media timeouts, and during the media timeout there was a woman behind us like catching fire. They're throwing fire up in the air, and she's like catching it in all different ways, and I was just amazed that I had no idea that was going on 5 feet behind me during the timeout. And it just shows how locked in you are in those moments in the timeouts. And things that go on in the media timeouts are often really funny and really entertaining. But as a coach, you don't get a chance to see any of those.
You would never have any idea that a fire dancer was happening right behind you.
Which is scary.
That is scary. These things are pretty scary enough, but you might want to be on the lookout for that. We'll try to keep the fire off the Smith Center court in between media timeouts. Coach, as always, we appreciate you for joining us today.
Thanks so much.
When we come back, we're going to talk scheduling with assistant coach Graham Bowsley. That's next on Raise High at GW. Welcome back to Raise High at GW. Thanks as always to Coach Christian for joining us. And now we're joined by assistant coach Graham Bowsley, who gets the enviable task of talking about scheduling. Coach, we appreciate the time. I know scheduling's tough normally, but this year has got to be something for you. Take us inside what has happened to get scheduling this year.
It's kind of like a big game of musical chairs this year. It's wild because, there's just a lot of things happening, a lot of teams dropping out, last minute and stuff like that for various reasons. I mean, the pandemic's put a hold on a lot of things. So it's been an interesting year, but it's kind of been fun to, pivot and adapt and it's kind of challenged us as a staff to really find, ways to schedule guys and just pick up games at last minute. So it's been a challenge, but it's been kind of fun at the same time.
I mean, typically you have games on the schedule years ahead of time. In April who you're playing in November, most likely. Now you're knowing literally a day or two before. How does that affect preparation?
Yeah, well, we have a pretty intense preparation process throughout the staff. And so, yeah, it does put a strain on the staff in terms of preparation. But the nice thing is Coach always says, we got to be unflappable and we got to be adaptable. So, we kind of take that mindset into everything we do. And we try to lead with that example with the players too. So, it is a challenge, but at the same time, we're ready for that challenge and we take on any challenge that we're faced with.
Take us behind the scenes if you can a little bit, because of the season's first 6 games, 3 weren't originally scheduled with the team you were playing. Yep. So what are those conversations like in terms of like, hey, we need to go find a game, and that conversation with that team? Yeah,
well, Coach Christian and I kind of, before the season started, we really met and we're like, hey, we need a pool of local teams that we can be ready to play regardless of the situation. So, I was kind of working on creating a list on the back end just in case something happened. So it ended up happening 3 times, like you said, but we had a list of teams ready to go, kind of just in case something happened. It just happened to work out that way. So,
I again do not envy the position you're being in. How many iterations of the schedule have you had this year, if you were to put a number on it?
Yeah, it's got to be upwards of 20 because, like you said, we were planning to play a team 2 days in advance, and then they canceled. We had to schedule a new team. UMBC was scheduled, barely 48 hours in advance. So, it's been like I said, a big game of musical chairs, but it's been an interesting kind of challenge for us, and I think it'll pay off in the future with our guys being able to short prep scout, that'll help us in tournament settings and things like that.
Absolutely. And again, we're very fortunate that we're able to still continue to play and that we have the ability with all these teams around here. Not many folks are fortunate enough to have as many teams as the DC area affords to be able to be like calling up UMBC, hey, you want to play in 48 hours? Yes, we're doing that.
Exactly.
So, but in a normal year, how soon after a game are you working on the team in terms of the next opponent and what that game plan looks like?
Yeah.
How quickly does that transition happen?
So typically we try to schedule with at least a 2 or 3 day cushion in between teams, so that, you know, we might have an off day after a game and then we might have 2-day preparation for the next team. So, you know, we'll touch on the things we can improve on and the things we did well on right after the game, the practice right after, in individual film with the coaching staff and as a team. And then we'll start scouting prep Tuesdays in advance, and that entails, you know, all the details of it, the personnel details, our playlist for that specific game, defensive actions we might want to go over and against. So, you know, that typically starts 2 days before. If it's only a day before, then we kind of scrunch it and we kind of adapt there. But yeah, typically 2 days prep for each game.
If you can forecast when we get to a post-COVID world, hopefully for next basketball season, do you see that this is the way scheduling will happen, or is it going to return more to normal where you're planning stuff out well ahead of time?
Yeah, I honestly don't see it staying this way, because I think everybody likes to know way in advance who the opponent is. You know, I think it's been, like I said, a good experience for us as a staff and players to get used to a tournament style setting where you might not know who you're playing 2 days in advance. So I think that's good preparation for as our team grows and we're ready for those opportunities in the tournament to be ready for that stuff. But yeah, in terms of non-conference scheduling, I think, you know, they might even go back to scheduling it 2 years in advance, just multi-year deals, so nobody has any confusion.
Well, with that in mind and the craziness of this year, have some of the deals given you some clarity in terms of what like next year's schedule look like?
Yeah, well, I think there's still a lot up in the air right now, because, you know, we're just trying to take it one game at a time. You know, just like you said, you know, might have to schedule it 2 days in advance. But I think in the future there'll be a lot more clarity as the spring unfolds. And again, I think you'll see teams scheduling 2 and 3 years out in advance just to make sure they don't have to have any musical chairs situation.
If you had a wish, you would never have this season in terms of scheduling happen ever again, probably.
Well, like I said, I think it's been a good experience, but yeah, I would rather, you know, schedule way in advance. So.
Yeah, and I'm sure we will never, ever stop asking you schedule questions, because it's always one of the hot button topics. We appreciate you going inside just a little bit of the craziness that happened this year. Appreciate the time.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That'll do it for us today here on Raise High at GW. For Graham Bowsley and for Jamie and Christian, I'm Kevin Burke. Stay safe, be well. We'll see you soon.